No airline will fly you across the Atlantic in daylight. Not because they can't, because they won't. Somewhere over the ocean right now, a plane is breaking a rule of physics it shouldn't be able to break. It's moving 250 miles per hour faster than its own engines can push it. That's not a glitch. That's the entire reason almost every flight from North America to Europe disappears into the dark. But here's the important part. The engines didn't change. Nothing about the plane changed. Something invisible is doing the work for it, 35,000 feet above the water, and that thing only shows up properly at night. Everyone assumes night flights exist so you can sleep. Wrong. Sleep is the excuse. Now here's why that matters. The real reason is a force strong enough to add 250 miles an hour to a 200-ton machine, and airlines built an entire global schedule around chasing it in the dark. It's called the jet stream. Picture a river in the sky, except this river moves faster than a car on a highway, and it's invisible. Pilots can't see it. You can't see it. But it's there, every night, exactly where the math says it'll be. And this is where most people misunderstand it. The fastest way across the Atlantic isn't a straight line. It's a curve, bent on purpose, chasing winds 100 to 200 miles an hour strong. Bend the route to catch that current, and a plane cruising at 550 miles an hour hits a ground speed of 700, even 800. Same engines, same fuel, completely different outcome. This isn't new either. Sailors caught ocean currents the same way for centuries before anyone built a jet engine. Old trick, new altitude, and it's been running the transatlantic schedule since the earliest days of commercial jets. Because something proven for that long doesn't get abandoned. It gets exploited, every single night, on purpose. So why does this only work after dark? But here's the important part. The jet stream doesn't vanish in daylight, it shifts. For the eastbound run to Europe, the strongest alignment happens overnight. So planners don't gamble. Twice a day, they redraw an entire invisible highway in the sky, the North Atlantic tracks built to chase wind that never stops moving. Two control centers run this, Gander in Canada, Shanwick in the UK. Eastbound tracks run roughly 1 am to 8 am UTC, hunting the tailwind. Westbound tracks shift to daytime, dodging the worst of the headwind instead of fighting it head-on. Open a flight tracker at 2 am and you'll see it yourself. 100 planes streaming east in total darkness and almost nothing coming back the other way. That's not random traffic. That's 100 decisions, made independently, all landing on the same conclusion. And this changes everything once you put a price on it. Trial data across 31,000 transatlantic flights found fuel savings of 400 to 650 kilograms per crossing when planes rode the optimal track. A long-haul jet burns 5 to 7 tons of fuel an hour. Saving 500 kilograms sounds small until you multiply it by hundreds of flights, every night, every year. Small numbers, at scale, stop being small. But here's what wind alone can't explain. Why passengers actually want the night flight. For that, you need the clock. New York to London takes about 7 hours. London sits 5 hours ahead. Leave at 9 p.m., land at 9 or 10 in a hotel room that's ready. A city that's awake. A day that hasn't been wasted. Now flip it. Fly during the day. Land in London at 1 or 2 am. Train stopped. Hotel desk half-staffed. Your next morning gone, burned on recovery instead of opportunity. Airlines didn't choose night flights to be kind. A wasted arrival is a failure, and failure costs them their highest-paying customers. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Business travelers are the most profitable seats on the plane. Someone who can work a full day, sleep through the ocean, and walk into a 9 am meeting will pay almost anything for that. The entire schedule was engineered to protect one person's morning. If all of that still feels abstract, here's the simple version. Imagine a kid on a bike getting pushed by the wind instead of pedaling against it. Same bike, same kid, same distance, way less effort, covered way faster. That's every eastbound flight, every single night. So wind cuts the cost, the clock creates the demand. But neither explains why the schedule runs like a military operation, and that comes down to what happens the second the plane lands. A parked plane is a dying asset. Every hour on the ground is an hour a $100 million machine earns nothing. A night departure solves that. Ruthlessly land in Europe by morning, turn the aircraft in hours, send it back west before sunset. A full round trip inside 24 hours, almost no dead time. Try that with a daytime flight, and the model collapses. Turnaround windows shrink, ground time multiplies. Across a fleet of dozens of aircraft, that inefficiency doesn't just cost money, it bleeds it, until the airline fixes the schedule or pays for not fixing it. But here's the catch. Speed on the ground means nothing if there's nowhere to land. Airport slots are war zones. London, Paris, Frankfurt each has a hard cap on landings and takeoffs per hour. Most enforce brutal noise curfews. sometimes shutting runways down completely from midnight to 6 a.m. Scheduling eastbound arrivals for the morning and westbound departures for the day isn't a courtesy. It's survival. Here's why that constraint is unforgiving. There's no negotiating with a curfew. An airline can't pay its way around a sleeping city or a closed runway. The schedule has to fit the infrastructure, not the other way around, which means every other advantage, the wind, the fuel savings, the fast turnaround, only matters if it can fit through this one narrow door. Now here's the twist most people never see coming. This was never one reason. It's 4 wind, time zones, aircraft economics, and airport gridlock all pointing at the same answer, independently, with zero coordination between them. Remove one, the schedule survives. Remove all 4, it collapses overnight. Maybe you're thinking it's simpler than that. Maybe airlines just want to be polite. They don't. Airlines don't run billion-dollar networks on kindness. Every red eye on the books survived a cost model first. If this schedule weren't saving fuel, protecting arrivals, and keeping aircraft earning around the clock, it would already be different, because a planning team is rebuilding these routes right now, for tomorrow night, and they don't keep flying a route that loses money. A schedule that survived decades across dozens of competing airlines on the most contested route in aviation that's not tradition. That's proof the math never stopped checking out. Strip away everything secondary crew schedules, catering, maintenance windows, and the system collapses into 2 variables, wind direction and arrival time. Everything else is just machinery built to serve those 2 facts. But here's the part almost nobody connects. The flight home breaks every rule you just learned. Westbound, everything flips. Headwinds instead of tailwinds. Daytime tracks instead of night ones. Evening arrivals instead of morning ones. This isn't a mirror image of the trip out, it's a different puzzle. Solved with the same logic: chase the wind, protect the arrival, never let the aircraft sit still. Even the headwind doesn't get accepted, it gets managed. Westbound flights shift altitude and route specifically to minimize how hard they're fighting that current, trading the shortest path for the cheapest one. Most people think night flights is one fact. It's not. It's 2 opposing systems, running in parallel, every single day, converging on the same finish line. Cut the fuel bill. Keep the aircraft moving, protect the passenger's day on both sides of an ocean that doesn't care about either one. Think about that the next time you complain about a red eye. Behind that one uncomfortable seat is a control center in Canada, a control center in the UK, a wind current moving faster than the plane, and a finance team somewhere making sure none of it loses money. Nobody designed that flight for your comfort. They designed it to survive contact with physics, economics, and a clock that never stops. So next time the cabin lights go dark over open water, understand what's actually happening. You're not just trying to sleep through a long flight, you're riding a route recalculated hours earlier, chasing a current moving faster than the jet itself. Timed down to the hour to land you into a morning instead of a dead night on a machine that will barely stop moving for the next 24 hours. That's why your flight to Europe felt impossibly fast, and the one back felt like it dragged. It was never the plane. It was the wind, the clock, and a schedule with zero room for mercy.